Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from NRG Stadium, where the Tennessee Titans won a one-score game, but it was not quite that close today against the Houston Texans. Hope everybody is enjoying themselves. Coming off another divisional win for the Tennessee Titans. That makes 5 straight victories for this particular team in some of the most improbable ways. But I'll be honest with you. This was not a game terribly in doubt. There were records broken. There was a dominant performance and a lot of different things that we're going to discuss over the course of the next half hour or so. Before we get started, though, need you guys to share this show wherever it is that you're hanging out with us. If you're on Facebook Live like Atrell Thorpe or Craig Baxter, you can share now to public in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Facebook Live, or rather, if you're on Twitter, you can retweet the show. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you choose to consume us on Twitter or on YouTube or on Twitch, you can make sure that you get you can make sure that you subscribe to the channel or like the video. Ethan Ramsey says, "Oh, look, Buck is streaming inside Henry's house." Yes, the house that Derrick Henry built in the NRG Stadium. Certainly a place that he has claimed victory in several times across the course of his career. But share the show. Invite your friends to come hang out with us. I know the boys probably wrapped up not too long ago on their post-game show, but we have a lot of things to discuss, and a lot of it centered around Derrick Henry tonight. With that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time. Not from the Superbook Sports Studios, but from NRG Stadium here in scenic Houston, Texas. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. That's where you go for the best car buying experience humanly possible. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. Superbook Sports will help you get in on all the action. If you took my best bet, courtesy of Superbook Sports today, you know that Derrick Henry over 104.5 rushing yards was the total, and he got that in the first half alone. So you can make some money with Superbook Sports. And, of course, TrueMav Fitness, where you go to achieve your workout goals. TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch for your first class free. Go to TrueMavFitness.com. So this was the Tennessee Titans' best offensive performance of the season. There is no doubt. Derrick Henry was spectacular. Malik Willis, I really thought this would be a show centered around Malik Willis, and turned out they didn't need him. They didn't need him, but to stand out there and hand the ball off to 22 the way that he did so well. So now Derrick Henry has passed Eddie George for the most touchdowns in franchise history. It goes Earl Campbell 73, Eddie George 74, Derrick Henry 75 with 2 today. So he tied Eddie and then passed him en route to the Titans' 17-10 victory here against the Texans, who are just, abysmal. Absolutely abysmal against the run, and certainly were not prepared for Derrick Henry, for Dontrell Hilliard, and anybody else that the Titans wanted to rush today. It was an absolutely dominant performance, and the score closer than the game itself actually was. The Texans were abysmal on offense today, but for Tennessee, this was a really, really strong outing, and the story of it is, of course, is Derrick, which is where I, ironically enough, would like to start here on the Primetime Show. In the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, what was your first reaction to Derrick Henry breaking the Titans' all-time touchdown record? Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. In fact, you're going to hear from Derrick Henry, who I talked to post-game here in just a second. But let me know in the comment section how you felt when Derrick Henry broke the record, got over 200 yards, all of it. Let me know in the comment section. We'll talk about it right after I tell you that Two Rivers Ford presents, as always, the Two Rivers Ford Take. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for 2023 model year Fords. They're available right now at the dealership in Mount Juliet. They have Escapes. They have F-150s, Mustang, electric Mustang, Mach-E's. They've got everything you could possibly ask for at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. They always make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Custom order your next Ford at Two Rivers Ford. So, looking at the situation for the Tennessee Titans, what was your first reaction to this? We wanted to get Derrick's reaction after the game, and I'm sure many of you by now have seen Mike Vrabel's post-game locker room speech. So when Derrick came to the podium, it took him a little while, understandably so. He's tired. He's got to get showered. He's got to get dressed. Got to make sure he gets treatment because I'm sure that the body does not feel great after back-to-back 30-plus carry performances, the way that he's had now against the Colts and the Texans in consecutive weeks. So he gets to the podium, and Jimmy Wyatt just asked him, "Hey, Derrick, you tired?"
Am I tired? Yeah.
Yep. What happened there?
Am I tired? Yeah.
Winded. All right.
How good was it to have so much success in the run game today? Maybe how important was it with Ryan not here?
Well, credit to those guys up front and all the guys blocking. O-line receivers, tight ends, fullbacks. Just making a sacrifice to be able to block and have the will too for us to have success and be right there and make a play. I give all the credit to them. I just had to go out there and do my job, and just happy we were able to get the win and win as a team.
As a unit, though, Derrick, because it wasn't just you, Dontrell, obviously, like you guys were really moving it. Did you know at a certain point that they just weren't going to be able to stop you guys on the ground?
No, I wasn't really worried about obviously not about them, but us just doing our job and what we need to do to have success in the run game and when the calls played to execute and do all the things we need to do to get downfield and score points. And I felt like we did that at the line of scrimmage and were able to gain some yards and make some plays out there.
I know you don't care about personal for you to pass Eddie George, for you to have Ty O.J. Simpson and Adrian Peterson for most 200-yard rushing performance. Well, what does it mean to you, that they take that so seriously?
I mean, they were the ones that made it happen. So, I would hope that they, take pride in that because without them, I wouldn't have the success that I've had in our relationship. Where we just, come together and stick together through anything, through any adversity. I told them like I got their back, and they got my back. So just sticking through it. Ben is a great leader on this team and a great leader for that O-line room, and somebody that I always try to pick his brain, and just happy that we're able to have success today, and they did a great job.
Vrabel.
So that's Derrick Henry, forever reserved, right? He's eminently humble. He's not, the best way to get Derrick talking. There's no great way to get Derrick talking, but the best way to get Derrick talking is to, talk about his teammates as opposed to him, because there's just not a human being in the world that cares less about the records that Derrick Henry breaks than Derrick Henry. we try to get, Derrick's never been he's never been the kind of quote that everybody wants to hear from Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry's a superstar. Derrick Henry is the best player that the Titans have, and that's a team with Jeff Simmons, right? Like, Derrick Henry is a singular player. It's really cool, everybody, to everybody to witness and, in my case, to cover his entire career right now, which is shaping up. He's not like a surefire Hall of Famer. Obviously, he doesn't have a Super Bowl. He doesn't, there's not been overwhelming playoff success other than the one run in 19. So it's hard to really, say definitively that Derrick's going to go to the Hall of Fame one day. But think about this shit. He's one of 3 players to ever have 6 200-yard rushing games across his career. Nobody has more than 6. He is in now the same class as O.J. Simpson, who is a Hall of Famer, and Adrian Peterson, which, whenever he decides to retire, will be a Hall of Famer. Derrick theoretically, however much longer he ends up playing, like this guy could easily pass both of those dudes, right? And then, then we can start to have the conversation of surefire, no doubt, future gold jacket wearer, right? Because he's putting together that resume right now, and to be able to witness it in real time is one of the coolest things about what it is that I get to do for a living. And not a lot of people get to cover that that caliber of a player across any NFL media career. So that's been my great fortune to be able to do that and to see Derrick work at his best. But I do think that there is, obviously there's a lot more to go this season. He's breaking franchise records. He's already all over the place in NFL record books, and he's not anywhere close to done just yet. Now, the ring is the hardest thing to achieve, and the ring is something that he lacks. Again, the playoff success is not insignificant. But we're not there yet, right? Today we're talking about Derrick Henry rushing for 200 yards for the 6th time in his career. He has four of those just against the Texans, which is batshit crazy to think about. And he continues to roll the way that he rolls. Mark Jones says Buck's a hater on YouTube, trying to throw shade in a subtle way. No, I mean, Mark, you know me long enough. You've been watching the show long enough. You know that I don't care that way. Like, if anything, the job that I have, your job is to be unbiased, right? Win or lose doesn't affect the way that I go about doing my job, right? But the one place that I will show bias is that, watching Derrick Henry kick ass is really, really cool, right? Like, it's a really unique thing. That's not lost on me. Because I wrote about this, I don't know, probably at some point in the 2020 season, and that was while he was en route before he broke 2,000 yards. He hadn't done it yet. As a matter of fact, he did that in Houston in the 2020 season. But it is one of those things where I watch it and I say, it's kind of like LeBron, right? LeBron is a singular athlete. He's a singular kind of talent. And, I don't really care how you feel about LeBron's politics or the thing LeBron says, or, the fact that he'd rather be a Browns fan because he's got moral objections to the Cowboys, which is laugh out loud funny. But I'm talking about the greatness of the player themselves. And that sometimes, you've seen so much of LeBron James or Tom Brady, or you could put any, superstar singular athlete in this category. You see it happen so many times that you almost start to take it for granted. And there was a point in my career where I just used to Derrick Henry rattling off 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200 yard, 200 plus. He has a game against the Texans where he ran for 250 yards, right? And at a certain point, like, I had to take a step back and think about it and be like, well, shit. Like, am I taking it for granted? And I felt that I was at a certain extent. So I don't take Derrick Henry performances for granted anymore. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and gaslight you. And just because, a lot of people would like to hear that and say, yeah, Derrick Henry's a surefire Hall of Famer. He's building a resume, and the resume is strong, right? But the career is not yet done. Like I said, playoff success is a matter of some debate. I saw Mark ask me earlier, ask Greg Cosell if Derrick Henry is a Hall of Famer. Was one of the comments made. Greg could tell you the exact same thing. Well, it's, one, Greg's not a Hall of Fame voter. I'm not a Hall of Fame voter, so maybe it doesn't necessarily matter what either of us think. Actually, I don't know if I assume Greg's not a Hall of Fame voter because he's not like a pro football writer. Like, Kaharski's are Titans, like, contingent, like Titans media. He's our representative as the Hall of Fame voter. So, maybe the better question is to ask Paul, who regularly says that Eddie George is not a Hall of Famer. Now, Derrick just passed Eddie George. But I think that his answer might be a little more harsh. If you ask the Chief, his answer might be a little more harsh than mine would be, where I'm saying, yeah, this man's out here building a resume. And if you want to get ahead of yourself, you're more than welcome to do so. But I think it's just about appreciating what I think it's more about appreciating what you've got in front of you in the immediate And then at the end of the career, you can have these Hall of Fame debates up and down. That's how it goes. A to Z Sports Primetime, live from NRG Stadium. We are made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. At GaryAshton.com, your dream address without the stress is what is made possible at the Ashton team. We're giving you Derrick Henry intel tonight. If you want real estate intel, you go to GaryAshton.com. The best in the business, the team that your favorite teams trust. Gary Ashton is the best at what he does in the Nashville real estate market. He'll help you find your dream address or sell your home for more at GaryAshton.com. Let's see. Derek R. says PK is a Hall of Fame voter. Shit. Derek has no chance. Paul hates the Titans. No, I mean, I think you guys, I get a lot of that too. Like I hate the Titans just because, I don't like coddle you guys. I mean, you guys are adults. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand when you perceive something as negative, and shit, a lot of the things that I do say about the Titans offense is negative because the Titans offense outside of today has not been fun to watch. Today was the first time that it's been an enjoyable product, but it doesn't matter because they win, right? I'm cognizant of that, even as I'm very critical of them. But you can't mistake criticism for dislike. Like, yeah, I don't necessarily love a passing offense that has 55 yards and 10 attempts like Malik Willis did today. But I also recognize that when you've got Derrick Henry rushing against a defense like that kind of shit, that it doesn't matter. Now, Derrick hasn't had a game like this all season long, and there was a couple of times where you thought he might break the long touchdown run, and Derrick got caught from behind for the first time that I've seen, I think, in my lifetime of covering his games, something that I'm not accustomed to seeing at all. But I would say, I understand why, you guys might take criticism. I understand why you guys might take criticism as hatred or dislike of your team. I would just say, I'm asking you to be discerning. If you're not discerning, then I can't help you, but we're still going to talk about your team, cover your team, and all these different things as it goes along. MB says, are you serious? PK is a Hall of Fame voter. Something seriously wrong with the I mean, who else would it be? Like, who else nobody's got Jimmy, right? But Jimmy works for the team. You can't have a team employee on the Hall of Fame committee. That's not how that works. Like, Jimmy should have, listen, Paul should be the Hall of Fame voter among all of us. I haven't been here long enough. I don't have the historical background. Paul has covered the Titans since they were the Oilers. Tehran has not been here long enough. Who else would it be? Like, the Tennessean has just a rotating cast of different dudes who I see year in and year out that cover the team. Coach Mack should be Coach Mack should be the Hall of Fame voter. Well, listen, Mack, if Mack didn't work for a team, Mack would deserve a Hall of Fame vote. So, Puka says it should be Teresa. Teresa, I could get behind Teresa. Teresa's we're getting way too bogged down in the weeds, as it were. But Teresa's also been here long enough. Like, your choices would be Teresa. Well, you don't have a choice. Paul's the Hall of Fame voter, but it would be Teresa, probably Terry McCormick, or Paul at this point. Jimmy's out of it because he's a team employee. And Christopher White says it correctly on Facebook. He says PK is the grandfather. Yeah, grandfathered in. So, no matter what you think of him, he directly impacts certainly the Hall of Fame voting process. Shecky Shabazz says something told me Willis would struggle today. Well, yeah, I don't think that was any, not dismissing that, Shecky, but I don't think there was any, I don't think that there's any great, what was I going to say? I think there's no, I don't think there's no great Matt, sorry, I shouldn't have read a text in the middle of trying to get my thought out, but one of our A to Z people texted me, which, by the way, they should know better than to do while we're in the middle of doing a show. Reed, handle it. It's not Reed texting me. Somebody else. Shame on them while we're trying to get a show off the ground. But I think that the situation for Malik Willis, I don't think it was unpredictable by any stretch of imagination. Like, I don't know how many of you read the article that I wrote pregame about, hey, don't overreact one way or the other. Like, Malik Willis doesn't stink because he was late on a couple of throws and was inaccurate. Malik isn't going to replace Tannehill just because they won today, right? He had he was 6 of 10 for 55 yards and a pick. Like, you don't need to overcorrect. You won a game with the players that you had available to win. And that is something that we are going to talk about together here on A to Z Sports Prime Time from the NRG Stadium. The question that I'm going to ask you guys is this: did Malik Willis meet, exceed, or fall short of your expectations in his first NFL career start? That's a good question by producer Reed. Did he meet, exceed, or fall short of your expectations tonight or this afternoon against Houston? Give me your response in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that TrueMav Fitness is where you go to get your fitness journey started. TrueMav has helped me meet my fitness goals. Wearing the purple Halloween suit today, the pants fit a little looser than last Halloween. It was lovely to see. I'm down about 3 belt sizes or waist size or whatever the you know what I mean, the judgment by which you look at one's waist when you're evaluating pants or belt. Either way, TrueMav Fitness has helped me reach that goal, and I'm very grateful to them. They can help you out too. They've got boot camp style classes, about 40 to 45 minutes. They got personal training. They got an open gym if you sign up for one of their membership programs, and they've got every level of membership for every person to fit your budget and your needs. TrueMavFitness.com. You can get your first workout free. So, fell short, met, or exceeded your expectations? Christopher White says he met them, including the pick. Joe Williams says, I thought he have used his legs more, met with everything else. From Joe. Dalton Turner says Malik met my expectations and we won. Fell short, says Jose Diaz. It was due to game plan. Run game was rolling too strong. Well, wait, I'm confused. Fell short, but it was due to the game plan. Is not that the goal to accomplish whatever it is that the game plan is? And if the game plan is to run against the NFL's worst rushing defense by a mile, I don't necessarily understand. If it fell short, but they executed the game plan correctly, then I'm a little confused. You know, I saw Eric Alonso. Eric Alonso just says buck. I'm not sure what he's trying to get off the ground because he didn't comment beyond that. But Eric Alonso is somebody who's, advocated strongly, I think, at least if I remember correctly. I feel like I've seen Eric in the comments on a regular basis talking about they need to get Tannehill out of there. They need to get Tannehill out of there. They need to let Malik Willis play. So I'd be curious, like people like Eric, because there's plenty all out there. It's not just Eric. Eric's just one that I notice more often than not. Do you feel the same way after seeing a full game sample size, right? Because I would say that he met my expectations. Mickey Ryan asked me we did the Titans radio pregame today, Mickey Ryan, Blaine Bishop, and myself. And Mickey asked me what I thought the over-under on passing attempts would be. And I said 12, and he went under. He attempted 10 passes. They had 1 pass in the second half. They didn't need to throw the ball, right? So, I thought he looked okay. I thought he started to settle in a little bit in the 2-minute drill. I thought that it's interesting to me that Eric has not yet commented when I've asked him to evaluate his position on Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. So perhaps he's not prepared to admit that Ryan Tannehill is clearly and obviously the better option for this football team right now. And listen, I do think there's some truth to the idea that when you have a quarterback like Malik, who the defense is going to be cognizant of having the ability to take off, even though he didn't. I think let me look at Malik's rushing numbers because I don't think he had more than 5 carries today. He had 5 attempts for 12 yards, and the longest rush that he had was 6, which I think was the one where he came about a yard short of getting a touchdown in, and then Derrick Henry scored his, I want to say, second touchdown on that very drive. So I would say to you of Malik Willis, I think he met my expectations, and my expectations were nothing crazy. I was prepared to see some bad snaps. I was, prepared for the idea that he might make a spectacular play here or there. They clearly didn't trust him to throw the football. He was throwing the football inaccurately. He was indecisive. Tannehill's officially the QB too. Well, then Eric, listen, Eric, I love you. You hear every night. I love all of y'all. You know that. No matter how often you may disagree with me, or, sometimes you guys want to, you get upset with the way that I talk about your team and you tell me my face looks dumb. That's totally fine too. I love you anyway. Eric, I love you. And I'm not saying that you're dumb, but I'm saying that you are displaying the behavior of someone who is lacking in intelligence or just general football acumen, because of course that's nonsense. Of course that's nonsense. Now, Eric, you may just be trolling, and I appreciate if you are going to stick to the bit in that spot. But to say that Tannehill is officially the quarterback too, nobody is happier with, well, I don't want to say that. Well, I think I can comfortably say that. Nobody is happier with the way that Malik Willis looked today than Ryan Tannehill, because they won and because his job is, clearly and obviously not in danger, like not by a mile. In fact, Eric, I will make you a bet right now. You have a better chance of Malik Willis, or rather, you have a better chance of Ryan Tannehill being your quarterback in 2023, not this season, but next season, than you do of Malik Willis being the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Now, what I'll say to you is a better chance that Tannehill is the starting quarterback than Malik does not guarantee that Tannehill will be the starting quarterback. Maybe they go out and find an upgrade. They certainly were sniffing around last season. But he's a long way off, and that's totally okay, because he is the definition of a project player. And I think at this point you have to understand that. And I think that's totally fine for what it is that they came in looking to do with him with the draft. David Brown says, what happens with Tannehill next season? Extension, franchise tag, free agent? I'd let him play it out. I'd absolutely let him play it out, right? I think that you don't have to extend Tannehill. You don't have to franchise tag him. You don't have to do anything with Tannehill. You let him play the contract out. And if he goes crazy, then it's to your benefit in 2023. If he falls short, then you move on to the next option. And I think that for all of those things, Tannehill is a stabilizing force, right? Tannehill is a stabilizing force. Now, today, Derrick scored the first touchdown that they'd had. Let's see. I think when was Derrick's first touchdown? Let me go back and look. Because I want to say it was in the first half. So, yeah, second quarter, Derrick had a 29-yard run for a score with 4:20 left in the second quarter. So they had gone basically the first quarter and a half, more than a half, the first quarter and 3/4 of the second quarter they hadn't scored a touchdown since the third quarter of the Commanders game, right? So that's fourth quarter against the Commanders, 4 quarters against the Indianapolis, an offensive touchdown, by the way. 4 quarters against the Indianapolis Colts, a 6th quarter against the Houston Texans down here, and then finally Derrick got into the end zone in the second quarter. So they went 6 quarters without scoring an offensive touchdown. I don't think that the situation for, I don't think that's Tannehill's fault. I don't think that Malik Willis was the reason that that Derrick Henry scored 2 touchdowns today. But I do think that you have to be cognizant of how much better Ryan Tannehill is at this stage of his career than Malik Willis. That's not a knock on Malik Willis. And it's not, you guys know how I feel about Tannehill. Tannehill's good enough to help you win games. And what he does in the playoffs is going to be how he's judged for the rest of his career, right? And what he's done in the playoffs is make an AFC championship game, but precious little since then. And obviously you all have raised, rightfully so, your expectations to a significant degree. All right, let's wrap things up here on the Primetime Show with This Is a Free Site. What is the most ridiculous penalty in football? Give me your response. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. I haven't seen this clip yet. Producer Reed put together the show. Good job, Ada Reed, for helping me out, given that we had a short turnaround time. I think I got back up into the press box at 7:20, had to write an article, got in here at 7:55, and I said, Reed, let's roll it. And he did a fantastic job in putting together tonight's show. So, what is the worst penalty in professional football? Give me your answer in the comments, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I remind you that Superbook Sports is the place that you go to get in on the action, to beat the best odds makers in the Superbook in Las Vegas. You can wager football, basketball, baseball, hockey. It's the best sports time of the year. You can take advantage of all of that and win some cash at the same time in the Superbook Sports app. Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. It's So what's the worst call in sports? Derek R says on YouTube, any of them that Jerome Boger calls. Yeah, I heard he called a penalty today in the Seahawks. Who did the Seahawks and the Giants. I heard he called a penalty on the Seattle Mariners instead of the Seattle Seahawks earlier today. Roughing the passer, says Michael Jeffrey Shrout. Illegal contact this year. It's getting out of hand. There was an illegal contact penalty against the Titans today at this point. So I think I would agree with the roughing the passer for sure. Producer Reed, go ahead and roll the tape. Why don't you tell me what the worst penalty?
Delay of game. Defense number 55. You're making a move that's not necessary and like football.
Okay, so here's what happened.
It's a half the distance from penalty. Delay of game. Defense number 55. You're making a move that's not necessary and like football.
Okay, so here's what happened.
It's a half the distance from penalty.
I'll be honest. I have no context for that clip. I don't know what the hell. Reed, get on the screen. Tell me what the hell that was. Like, you're going to have to explain that clip because I got shit there.
That is absolutely the best and worst call of all time. There was a unnecessary football move by a defensive player that was half the distance to the goal. You see the ref on there can't even keep a straight face as he is making the call because he knows it is a bogus call, but it is glorious in his face.
So wait, if he knows it, if he knows it's a bogus call, then why is he calling it?
Because this
What
goes
game was that
into
from?
how can you have defensive holding that is not a football move? But who knows? All I know is it is the greatest, worst call of all time.
What game was that from?
This was from earlier today. Let me double check my sources here. I'll play it one more time so everybody else can see and watch the ref's face because he even gives the giggle as I look up where exactly this game was.
Delay of game. Defense number 55. You're making a move that's not necessary and like football.
Okay, so here's what happened.
It's a half the distance from penalty. Delay of game. Defense number 55. You're making a move that's not necessary and like football.
Okay, so here's what happened.
So this was from the Eagles and Browns game earlier today in the first quarter before the Eagles decided to go off and blow out the rest of the Steelers.
Yes. So that what an interesting call. I'll have to go back and look at it at this point. So yes, this is a free site. The best or the worst thing that I saw on the internet. Thank you, producer Reed. Back to the shadows. All right. It's going to do it for us here at NRG Stadium. I've got a flight back from Houston tomorrow morning. I will land at 9:05, hopefully, provided that my flight is on time. The radio show will commence at 10 a.m. We will take your phone calls. We will go into deep detail on Derrick Henry, on Malik Willis. We haven't even talked about the work that the defense did today. The defense was absolutely spectacular. And I think that all of these things are going to be a lot of fun on Monday morning. Eric says, are we here to talk Titans or some game that didn't matter? Whether it was didn't, don't, or didn't, he didn't get it right. And listen, Eric, I tried to talk Titans football, and then you started saying some shit that made absolutely no sense. So I decided, hey, if this thing's going to get off the rails and Eric's going to be in here saying some things about nonsensical Ryan Tannehill is clearly and obviously quarterback two at this point, then I better pivot to something else because clearly this man has either lost his mind, didn't watch the game, doesn't know football, or is just in here to say something stupid. Either way, Eric, you are part of the reason why this got derailed, and that is what I will leave you with tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Radio starts at 10, taking your phone calls for 3 hours from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. I hope you guys who made the trip have a safe trip back to Nashville or wherever. We had a great time with a lot of the Titans fans who travel to this game every year. They threw a big pregame party. Teron Davenport and myself went last night. If you guys were there, it was great to hang out with a lot of you. If you guys weren't, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the Primetime Show. We will let John Robinson send us into the night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow at 10.